You mentioned TNA champion Nic Nemeth, formerly Dolph Ziggler, that we know. One of probably the most underutilized guys I think ever in WWE. Left, and now he's one of the world champions for TNA. So I think Nic Nemeth coming to our town.
And since he got to TNA's been exploding.
No, yeah.
His matches are incredible.
No, for sure. And
Like,
what do you think, for you guys being able to book the TNA champion right off the top, what do you think about that? One of the most, I think, talented wrestlers, underutilized, also, who could still go.
I mean, a little fun fact, but I've known Nic Nemeth since his very first day in pro wrestling.
Oh, yeah?
So one of his very first matches that he ever had was against me at Ohio Valley Wrestling. So I actually was there the very first day that Bobby Lashley and Nic Nemeth walked through the door, and it was part of their initiation was to see if they liked it or not. If they wanted to do this, was to get in the ring with me, and I'm not sure why it was me and why they picked me, but Nick.
Well, you're good. You're really awesome, like from the start.
Well,
so yeah, I'll put you over.
Yeah, thanks,
like I'll never forget when I went to a camp the first time. I saw this guy, and I'm like 2 years in. He's like a year in. This guy's like running circles around me. So like he was extremely talented from the start. So like for me to sit here and hear you, I don't know why they picked me because you were probably the best there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. But it was Nick was a standout wrestler at Kent State. As an amateur wrestler, he was one of the best in the United States in amateur wrestling, and so was Bobby. Bobby had just come off wrestling for the Army and was going to be, these guys were going to go on. You just knew that they were going to go on to be something. And I when we're over here, I'll show you the video I have on my phone of one of Nick's first matches I had with Nick. I have it, and I had sent it to him the other day, and I was like, "Hey, you remember this?" And he comes off with a double axe handle, and then I like knee him in the stomach, throw him in the corner, and I just start lighting him up. Chop, 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 chop. And Nick writes back to me, taking some liberties there, huh, brother? But it's really cool to like know these guys for as long as I have, and then to have Nick be a part of our first endeavor here. It's just another like layer to the story, kind of thing.
And he's
where,
been
like,
top-notch professional. He's awesome.
I think Nick is probably the most underrated and underused pro wrestler of the modern era. He is every bit of the Shawn Michaels of the era after Shawn Michaels. If you
a little bit with some Mr. Perfect,
with some Mr. Perfect in there, and he's got to be, dude, the most humble guy. Opposite of what he plays on television, where he's the show off and stuff like that. He, never talks about just how great he is. And I asked him personally the other day, I was like, when did it click to you that you're awesome? Like when did that like click in your head? And like, was it when you like won the world title? Like, did you think to yourself like, holy shit, like I'm the world champion now? And he's like, man, I go back and I watch that and I cringe. Because there's just some stuff about it where I didn't get it yet. And you're constantly learning. And like for a guy who's been doing this for that long to still have the mentality that he's learning every day, he's getting better every day.
That's how you be the best.
That's how you become the best. That's how
Vic
you
and I, when we watched
be
the match,
that awesome.
Like, Vic and I watched one of our matches, we're ripping apart. People like my friends, like if I watch a match, I'm like, too busy picking it apart. Some people don't want to watch my matches with me anymore because they look at it like, oh, great job. Him and I are like, no, I could have done this. So to be the best, that's what you have to be. Some people look at the match, oh, that's awesome, it's perfect. Well, that sucks for you because you could be better at something in that match.
Yeah. No,
so that doesn't. I totally see why he would think that way. Yeah. That's why he's that good.
It tells you just a little insight into just how great he is. Like he's had a really long career. And like as Dolph Ziggler, like Nick has been around when he was in the Spirit Squad. He was Kerwin White's caddy.
Yep.
Like,
oh my God.
He then he went and voluntarily went to developmental again after he'd already been in developmental and had a run where he was wrestling Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair every single night. He voluntarily sent himself down to NXT to reinvent himself as Dolph Ziggler, and then came back with like, remember he had AJ as his manager and like
sort of work ethic.
Like just like that guy is so good and that it's you can't even put words on it. And the fact that he just like is constantly trying to get better, constantly having the best match on the show. Like
when you think you get Katie better, he gets better.
Like wait until you see what we have in store for you that night involving Nic Nemeth. It's gonna be awesome.
No,
awesome.
One of the greatest moments I think was him cashing in after WrestleMania 29, I believe.
Yeah, man.
The fans were behind it, and I feel like
still one of the biggest pops.
Yeah, and it's like maybe is it a Vince thing? I don't know who to blame. Or like if Triple H maybe was in charge back then, where he could have been now, but like that was one of the greatest cash-ins I think because the fans wanted it, the whole building wanted it.
The best cash-in, right?
Yeah, just for the fans alone for that.
Either
how
that
behind
or Zack Ryder when he became Intercontinental Champion are probably tied.
Are you talking about pops or cash-ins?
Well, pops. I meant pops, but like.
Yes. When he won the title at the ladder match Mania.
Yeah,
oh, that was a big one.
That
was a good pop.
That or Edge's return.
That's big pop.
That was a huge.
Another great one.
Yeah,
I've watched that back.
I was trying to see what was on more on the Richter scale. CM Punk's AEW return or Edge's return?
Edge by far.
You think
so? That John Cena at Madison Square Garden pop though when he came back early from the
Rumble.
I'm putting all the rest.
AJ Styles debut in
WWE. When Ultimate Warrior came down and beat the Honky Tonk Man, that is the biggest pop. Love him or hate him, but Ultimate Warrior the biggest pop.
I defer to the professionals.